Fantasy Footballers Sunday Live.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Sunday Live. Playoffs have begun. Apparently, there's a World Cup final going on that we are currently missing. So shout out to y'all tuning in here. I know you're watching me and the World Cup final. No problems there. But me and my favorite producer friend, Al Borland, we're not watching. So keep us updated if anything cool happens. So pretty jealous that everyone gets to watch, and we're just, we're here because we got a lot of big questions, a lot of I just remembered yesterday's game, Jeremy.
Dude, that was wild.
Remember when Jeff Saturday coached the greatest collapse in NFL history? Because I do. Maybe you're good, maybe you're not. But we won't sit on that for too long. Some incredible football yesterday. A lot of things slid in very different directions. Stephon Diggs did not come through, did not have a super game for people last night against the Miami Dolphins. The snow was not really a factor there at the end. It got a little bit slick, but everything remained the same except for it was like all Dawson Knox all the time, which if you play Dawson Knox, I'm very happy for you. But let's get into it. I'm all over the place. Like, I'm very flustered that this game is going on. I'm very tilted for my own fantasy football matchup. So we'll try to keep this thing on track, but we may go off the rails sooner than later.
The big picture.
All right, here is the big news that we have, and this was, as of 11:40 Eastern. Trevor Lawrence will be playing as expected. The 12th man, Russell Wilson, will be out for Denver, and Kenny Pickett will be out with a concussion for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitch Trubisky is back. Hooray. Mike White, supposed to be the playoff hero, Mike White, the fantasy football playoff hero, but he is unfortunately out with whatever internal injuries he has going on. He was not able to get cleared for the juicy Detroit Lions matchup, so Zach Wilson will play. What does that do for the entire Jets offense? Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Zonovan Knight. Maybe you're streaming Tyler Conklin. The answer is hold on to your butts if you're playing one of those guys and just hope for the best. Let's see, in the running back position, Josh Jacobs is expected to play. Ramondre Stevenson. So that's a pretty big one. So Ramondre Stevenson last week against the Arizona Cardinals hurts the ankle, tries to come back into the game. He cannot go. Kevin Harris, Pierre Strong Jr., they were the next fellas up. They both had a pretty decent game. We're not sure, between the two of them, who would be the true leader. Probably Kevin Harris, but Pierre Strong had the better showing. Now, having said that, let's work through everything that we know currently about the situation. It's an afternoon game. If you're counting on Ramondre Stevenson, if you're going to wait for the afternoon game, you have to have a backup option because we don't know for sure that he's going to play. I think this is a thing where the Patriots hope he will be there, and then they will test. He'll do pregame warmups. They did not elevate a running back, and Damian Harris is out. So the team is clearly sending the signal to us that Ramondre Stevenson is going to play. It's tough. If Ramondre is active, I'm probably going to play him. Maybe you have, like a really sneaky option on your bench. Brian Robinson against the Giants comes to mind. The Giants have been pretty bad on defense, and Brian Robinson has been taking a step forward. I know he's got his own, little thigh thing, but it takes a pretty good matchup with a good-ish player for me to put them in over Ramondre Stevenson, especially in the playoffs. Damian Harris, like I said, will be out. So that's a very, very tough decision that's going to go all the way down to the wire, I think. Dameon Pierce of the Houston Texans, the rookie sensation, he will be placed on IR. We're done. We don't get any more Dameon Pierce for this year, unfortunately. Wide receivers, DJ Moore is in. I've tried to support DJ Moore the best that I possibly could from afar, and he does not want my support. So I would not play him. Kadarius Toney's going to play. I'm not playing Kadarius Toney. For the Las Vegas Raiders, we'll clump this into one. Hunter Renfrow is in. Darren Waller is in. What do you do with Darren Waller? I think that is a very big and fair question for people for fantasy football this weekend. Trying to pull up my rankings here. The thing is, like, Darren Waller wasn't doing very Darren Waller things because Devontae Adams came in and he became the black hole for targets where nothing shall escape. No target share shall escape from Devontae Adams. I think looking at my list here, I would play him over Okonkwo because Okonkwo, like, as much as we like him, he's still a part-time player. Hunter Henry in the same game with some absence of weapons for the Patriots. I think I'd still go Darren Waller. Evan Engram, I would play Darren Waller. I think my line is like that break of Gerald Everett and Greg Dulcich. Greg Dulcich matchup is just so delightful against the historically bad Arizona Cardinals. And while Gerald Everett has the plus matchup, he's been, pretty disappointing, especially when the Los Angeles Chargers actually have their other weapons on the field, and Joshua Palmer's kind of kicking into gear as the third option. To me, I think that's where Darren Waller is going to slide in. Like Schultz, I'm playing Dalton Schultz over Darren Waller. I'm not going to mess around with that. But back to wide receivers. Treylon Burks will be out, so that if you are streaming Okonkwo, you have at least a little bit more confidence in that. Corey Davis will be out for the Jets. Elijah Moore does not get Mike White, but Elijah Moore does get a really big opportunity here against a juicy matchup. It's a very, very, very risky play, but it does have some pretty high upside. Should you have had some things fall the wrong way over this weekend, like, I don't know, playing against Dalvin Cook, who was terrible until a freaking 70-yard touchdown reception broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. McCole Hardman is out. Chase Claypool for the Bears. He will be out. He was not in your lineups anyways. Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins for the Houston Texans are out. Chris Moore becomes, not becomes, because this is what he was. He was a pretty desperation option. The matchup with the Chiefs, like, you can throw on them, and the Chiefs should put up points. Could certainly do worse. Cortland Sutton and Kendall Hinton will be out for the Denver Broncos. Jerry Jeudy remains in play. Let's see. Jacoby Myers is expected to play, but again, that's expected to play for the Patriots. We'll have to see. Marquise Hollywood Brown also expected to play. He was missing practice with an illness. If he's active, that one's a pretty tough call. The matchup is pretty bad against the Denver Broncos. Wide receiver 3-ish. That's where I'm looking at him. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are expected to play this afternoon. Now, what do you do with them? I wish I could give you some real concrete advice on this situation, but we don't have concrete information. T. Higgins got a full practice in on Friday. That's what we have. Last week, with the hamstring and the suddenly I cannot play situation, he was limited on Thursday and Friday. So the fact that it was a full practice, I'm playing him. I have T. Higgins in my playoffs. I really need upside. I'm rolling with T. Higgins. Maybe you're the favorite and you want to pivot away from that risk. I do not blame you in that situation. I can only tell you what I'm doing. And what I'm doing, I'm playing T. Higgins. I'm not playing Tyler Boyd, though. He wasn't really playable, and now he's got a busted finger. Yeah. Julio Jones of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not expected to play. We're going to see. They said he's going to warm up, but not looking great for him to perform. This is really just it helps Andrew Holloway, another touchdown guarantee this week for Mike Evans. We'll see if the witchcraft remains strong enough to will that one into existence, because that seems pretty rough right now. Mike Evans has been killing us. But, we'll see. But anyway, so Julio Jones, was catching touchdowns from time to time, taking those away from Mike Evans. So if he's out, slight upgrade, I guess. Romeo Doubs is questionable for Monday night. You are definitely not playing him, but if he's active, could help Aaron Rodgers, which the weather situation for the weekend, where we look pretty good, we'll say the Chicago-Philadelphia game going to be super duper cold, as will the Green Bay game. I mean, shocker, Green Bay at night in the midst of winter. It's going to be cold. But we do know that historically cold temperatures doesn't really have an effect. Slight downgrade, but not a huge effect. Darren Waller is in, mentioned that. Juwan Johnson of the Saints is in, so he'll probably catch another touchdown. Hayden Hurst, Dallas Goedert is out. So Dallas Goedert, that's a pretty big one. He was not elevated or activated, I should say, is I believe the proper terminology. So he will not be there. Devontae Smith, keep playing him until Dallas Goedert comes back and takes his targets away. That is going to do it for the main updates. Al, how are you doing? Do you have any important matchups going on right now?
I do, yeah. I'm in the playoffs in one of my leagues.
Did you get destroyed yesterday, or did you get elevated?
No, I got elevated. So I had Justin Jefferson, who started out rough but had a great game, and I was playing against Stephon Diggs. So far, so good.
Hey, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I'm really sorry, man. Mike's hurting people.
Yeah. Look, when you go into your playoff matchup at night and you're like, okay, I'm in good spirits, trying to let the Dalvin Cook thing, flow off my back, considering Dalvin Cook should have had like a 40-plus point game. The fact that multiple touchdowns did not go to him, that was a miracle, despite the miracle touchdown at the end. But then when you have Stephon Diggs versus James Cook, and James Cook outscores Stephon Diggs, that feels really bad. Feels really, really bad in your playoffs. But let's check in on the computer and the rankings.
He's so hot right now.
All right, I'm looking at I'm checking in on the World Cup. It seems it's 2-2 still.
Yeah, I believe stoppage time finished. I believe we're into extra time.
All right. Well, let's get out of here so we can go watch the extra time.
All right, we'll burn through these, and then we'll get to the people. As always, we're looking at the start-sit tool, the new and improved start-sit tool on the fantasyfootballers.com.
I hope you all are enjoying that.
And these are some of the more popular asked questions this week. We're going to start at the running back position with Zonovan Bam Knight. Would you start him or Travis Etienne Jr. versus Dallas?
Okay, that's a really good question. I have Etienne slightly ahead. Zonovan Knight, I was going to start, but before I heard Etienne, I was going to say Zonovan Knight, he concerns me. Like, he scares me a lot this week. I know that he has looked fantastic, but he's been in what are plus matchups for the running back. He has had Mike White for each and every one of his performances. Like, did Zach Wilson learn anything over this 3-game stretch? I don't know. Probably not. I'm concerned for Zach Wilson as a long-term starter. Plus the matchup against the Detroit Lions, at least in the run game, has been pretty brutal for running backs over the past few weeks. But speaking of brutal, Travis Etienne versus Dallas. Etienne just killing people. Kind of coincides with when he hurt his foot, so maybe it has to do with that. If I had both of these guys, I would go, wow. That's a really tough question. I'm going to go look at some over-unders here. So the Dallas Cowboys, it's an over-under of 47.5. The Jaguars are implied for nearly 22 points. Same as the Jets. Cool. Okay, that did not solve any mysteries going to the Vegas totals. Look, if it were my team, I would play Travis Etienne. That's what it comes down to. The matchups stink for both. At least Etienne has his good franchise-competent quarterback. Trevor Lawrence has been playing fantastic. I think it's more likely that they put up points, giving Travis Etienne scoring opportunity. Travis Etienne's the home run hitter. I'm not sure that that's Zonovan Knight's game. Gashing decent chunk plays for Zonovan Knight, sure, but 50-yard touchdowns, I would go Travis Etienne, but it's not an overwhelming confidence between those two. Who's next?
All right, in that same game on the other side of the ball from Zonovan, what about Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift?
So I think it's super tough. I think it's Justin Jackson. He's playing again for the Detroit Lions because they just want to make everything hell for us. For the Detroit Lions running backs, I'm only playing DeAndre Swift. This is super sketchy. Yet again, I mean, everything's just sketchy all the time. But Jamal Williams has to get a touchdown. That means that the Detroit Lions have to go down to the 5, and then they go to Jamal Williams, which he's spectacular at. But the scoring opportunities against the New York Jets, they've been just locked down, man. They're locked down against the pass and the run. So if I have Jamal Williams, I'm not wanting to play him. Like, for example, let's say I would much rather play like Rashad White against the Cincinnati Bengals. I would play my start of the week, Latavius Murray, against Arizona over Jamal Williams. I'd probably play Jerick McKinnon against Houston over Jamal Williams. It's really, really tough. I just don't see the path for Jamal Williams. The path for DeAndre Swift is that they can't throw, like they can't get down the field, and they have to check down. And DeAndre Swift ends up with like 5+ receptions. Plus, he's athletically gifted that you can have a big play there. I'm not loving that I have to play DeAndre Swift in my playoff matchup here against the New York Jets, but of them, I'm going Swift over Jamal Williams.
All right, and you transitioned me perfectly into the last running back question. So you said you'll start DeAndre Swift, and you also mentioned Rashad White. Which one of those would you start?
I would prefer to play Rashad White. He has taken over the situation. The matchup for neither it's not a plus matchup, but I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will have more success this weekend than the Detroit Lions. I hope that the Lions surprise us all and they come out just kicking butt against the New York Jets and give us some really strong fantasy numbers. That's not how I'm projecting the game. All of my process and my inputs, it should be rough for the Lions. But the Bucs have a path forward, and Rashad White is getting so much work, especially in the passing game, that's the way I would go.
All right, moving over to the wide receiver position.
Oh, yes. I almost clicked the button.
Oh, weird.
No.
Done,
yeah,
sir.
I forgot. The machine has a lot.
All right, would you start which of the Moores would you rather start, Elijah Moore or Chris Moore?
Of course, this is the question we go to.
That is the second most asked question on our website right now.
Of course it is. So, talent-wise, I think that Elijah Moore is the better player. Opportunity-wise, Chris Moore. Quarterback-wise, probably what Chris Moore is playing with over Zach Wilson. Matchup definitely goes to Elijah Moore. Not that the Chris Moore's is bad, but the matchup against the Lions secondary has been very plus. If I had to pick between the two, goodness gracious, I guess I would go with Chris Moore and hope that last week that the team really liked what they saw, because like Chris Moore's been on the team. He's like, this was a huge game compared to what he has done on the season. He's flashes from here and there, which is why we were talking about him even to start last week of like, oh, he's got an opportunity. Seems like he could be a player in the league. What happens if he's the only guy and he came through with a whole bunch of targets and receptions? Elijah Moore, we are still not 100% confident in his role, so I think that I'm going to mitigate the risk and go with the player that I'm fully confident is their number one wide receiver. And not that I think Elijah's number one, that's Garrett Wilson, but it's like, is he locked in as the number two when we've seen throughout the season, you know, he got benched because he was the squeaky wheel. He did not get oiled up. The squeaky wheel did not get the grease. It got the bench. And then Denzel Mims comes in, and they're like, yeah, Denzel Mims is going to play above Elijah Moore. So that is something that could happen today. Well, for Chris Moore, that can't happen. He has to be the guy. So I'm going with Chris Moore.
All right. We got a lot of questions coming in about Christian Watson of the Green Bay Packers. Are you starting him or Garrett Wilson?
These questions are terrible today.
It's just people's playoffs on the line. Mike.
Yeah. You know, I get it. Which, by the way, thefantasyfootballers.com, that's where the rankings are. That's the start-sit tool. That's where we got all this information. It has been revamped. We got a bunch of things in there. And what I love so much about the start sit tool is it gives you what we would do with our rankings, which our rankings includes all of our algorithms, all of our process, all of our just, historical past with fantasy football, and then a bunch of other inputs and variables, because we are trying to help you make the best decision that you can. Rankings are very binary when you're looking at them on a list, but there's no context when you're just looking at rankings and realizing like wide receiver 19 versus wide receiver 28. That feels like a big gap, but it may not be that large. So we are trying to empower all y'all to make the best decisions that you can make. So Garrett Wilson or Christian Watson? That was the question?
Yes, sir.
Holy crap. Man. So I guess my concern for Christian Watson would be, how do the Rams handle Christian Watson? Like, Ramsey, I don't think Ramsey's doing a bunch of shadowing, but he shadowed a lot. He moved a lot with He moved a lot of coverage in Devontae Adams, and Adams still had an okay game a couple weeks ago, but it took some miraculous catches. So would they do that treatment to Christian Watson? I'm not exactly sure. If I had both of these players, if I had them both, I would play Christian Watson. That's an unbelievably difficult choice, but the move to Zach Wilson, I don't want to just dunk on this guy over and over, but he has not come through for any amount of sustained performances to make us feel confident that his wide receivers are going to have, you're going to feel confident starting those guys. Garrett Wilson's so good, but Christian Watson, just the variables aren't there for him with the quarterback. So I'm going to play Watson. I'm going to stay in those flames. That's tough because I expect Garrett Wilson will have more receptions than Christian Watson, but it's chasing the big play, and I'm going to chase that dragon this week.
All right, and we're going to wrap it around a few right here so you can get to the people. At the tight end position, Chig or Cole Kmet? Chig Okonkwo.
Give me Cole Kmet.
Chig or Greg Dulcich?
Oh, Dulcich.
Chig or Darren Waller?
That line, man, that's talking about it. I don't even remember what I said at the open of the show, but I think your touchdown odds, I would put them on Okonkwo. I think I'd go with Okonkwo. Like I was saying, I think that Darren Waller elevates up to that Gerald Everett range, and I'm not sure where Darren Waller will land completely once we go back here after Sunday Live. But I think I'll play Okonkwo and not mess around with Darren Waller first game back. How integrated will he be? Renfro is back. Devontae Adams was already taking all his targets. I'd go Okonkwo there.
All right, Justin Fields or Dak Prescott?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields or Joe Burrow?
Drats. Joe Burrow.
All right, let's get to the people, Mike.
Oh, gosh. Let's go, everybody.
Stardom, set 'em.
Wait, someone just screamed goal. Did we actually get a goal? We did. Argentina scored. So is that the game? Is that game over, or is it golden goal, or who even knows the rules of soccer? Like they're like sometimes we go stoppage time, sometimes we go extra minute. I don't know. So did Argentina just win? Did we miss it? Yeah, whatever. It's soccer. I don't really care that much. I'm trying to be excited for everybody else. All right, to the people, we're whatever. We can go a little bit longer today. Daniel says Jerry Jeudy or T. Higgins.
Apparently the goal doesn't end the game.
Okay, so it's not golden.
Andy's saying 6 minutes left plus extra.
Okay. All right, let's see if France can get it together. Daniel says Jerry Jeudy or T. Higgins. I would play T. Higgins. It's going to be perhaps the death of me, but if I had the two of them, you got Brett Rippon slinging the ball. Not that Jerry Judy's a bad option, but I'll take Joe Burrow and the busted hamstring. John says Christian Watson or Zonovan Knight in a half-point PPR. I would play Christian Watson. and hopefully you've kind of laid out those two guys, the case for those guys. Let's see. I'm trying to find one we have not talked about. So the Olympian 22 says Rashad White or Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is an interesting play as like a fringe flex option. Rashad White, I think we need to mentally change how we think of Rashad White, and I'm still guilty of it. When I hear the name Rashad White, I don't immediately go to that's a fantasy starter. But once I start, getting the process going, you got to get the locomotive booted up a little bit because we aren't running full speed with him, but I think we should be at this point. Rashad White should be locked in as a running back 2 or better especially in a PPR situation. Gary, Cordero Patterson or Deonta Foreman? I'll go Deonta Foreman. The fact that it's Desmond Ridder making his first ever start on the road against the Saints, that could lead to, not as many scoring opportunities for Cordero Patterson, and Deonta Foreman he's just been fantastic, and they will give him 20-plus carries. That's what they want to do there. Next question we got. Matt wants to know Murray, Swift, Foreman, pick 2.5-point PPR. Okay. Man, I think I'll go Foreman and Swift on that one. The line for me between those three is extremely close. Wow. Very, very close. That one, I guess for that one, you really got to think about what do you need. Murray and Foreman are by far the safest. If you just need steady, 8 to 10-ish points with a chance of a touchdown here or there. But, your floor is very safe, but your upside is not what Swift gives you. But the downside of those two guys, I don't think it is what Swift can give you as well. Let's go to Mr. Sparkle says a full-point PPR, Garrett Wilson or Najee Harris. I'm going to go with Garrett on that one. The full PPR will take me over the top. People are talking about, so Jeff Driscoll, part-time quarterback, part-time tight end, apparently, for the Houston Texans if you're playing on Yahoo. How do I factor him in? The question here specifically is Freiermuth. I think Freiermuth is a pretty good line of I might be willing to take the risk that the Texans are going to put Driscoll in. Remember the scenario, though. It was a very neutral game script for the Houston Texans against the Dallas Cowboys. Jeff Driscoll is their running quarterback. Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, yes, he throws it sometimes, but the majority of the time it's Wildcat stuff. They're having him run. That's more what Jeff Driscoll brings to the Houston Texans. They were non-committal about are they going to do that again. So we didn't just have Coach Lovie Smith coming out and being like, boom, that was the success. I'm going to do it again. And if it's a real negative script, it might just be Davis Mills nonstop. So high risk, but certain tight ends of a tier are high risk. Muth has his foot problem. So right around there, I might be willing to put in Driscoll and see if the plan works. Got to get back to the questions here. Try and rapid fire a couple so I can get back in the lab that we have not done. It's a lot of Muth Driscoll questions here. Tannehill or Tommy B, the plant man. So Ryan Tannehill or Tom Brady. I am gonna go. Oh man. Oh, that's a terrible question. I'm gonna go with Tom Brady against the Cincinnati Bengals. Plant man, no. Shig apparently wants me to just rapid fire answers over this. Shig, that's what the rankings are for. Now, that's a very, very rapid fire way to get the answer on who I would start between two players. This is more of a extended form rankings, give you the process. Let's see. And we'll get out of here. One more question. Dak or Fields, I answered that question. Jerry Jeudy or T. Higgins, I answered that question. It's a lot of just people spam. People spam their questions over and over, and then I can't find new ones. Higgins or Lazard, I'll get out of here on this one because I actually literally have that question to my own team. Lazard is on my bench. T. Higgins is in for me. He's going to be the death of me. T. Higgins is going to be the end. But I got one here. Lucas, Elijah Moore or DJ Chark in a full-point PPR. That one I would go Elijah Morris because of the full point PPR. I expect, Elijah Moore to have more receptions than DJ Chark. Chark could have the big play, but not as likely this week as it was last week. So that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get back into the rankings. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope I brought you some enlightenment, maybe some optimism for these decisions that you are making. I know that they are very tough because I am making my own tough decisions as well. I wish you nothing but the best. I will see you tomorrow. Remember to keep it beautiful, and good luck, everybody. Mwah. Goodbye.